All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Eagles Power Hour. It's been a little bit of a minute. I've been busy as heck. Got a new job with EW Athletics. That's been really fun. I also it's finals week this week, so I've just been absolutely hammered. I don't have any class today, so I had some time. Hop on. Let's do a little bit of a football update because a lot of crap has happened since we last talked about football with Kyler. And we'll get into basketball just a little bit. I'm not going to get too in depth on basketball just because, one, like I said, I've been swamped for time. So I have not been paying as close attention to basketball as I should be, as well as out of conference. It's tough. Like in the Big Sky, we're usually one of the weaker Western conferences. And, our team right now is 2-7, but it's not like that means anything really in the Big Sky play. We'll just kind of talk about how they've done a little bit. But this will be a pretty heavy football focused episode. Reason being, we're recording this on December 9th, National, with that being said, day. It should be a national holiday at this point because the transfer portal opened today. And we, as Eagle fans, have already seen a few kind of shocking names enter that. I don't know if shocking is the right word in this day and age, but a few contributors have hopped in the portal. We'll talk about that in just a minute, as well as National Signing Day was last week, and we signed a bunch of new leagues that I've been doing some behind the scenes work on that. We will be working on some shorts, kind of breaking down each recruit here in the future from Eagles Power Hour. But I've been doing some recruiting stuff for Eagle Athletics, so I've been really busy with that. We will get that out. It's just the timing hasn't been great yet. But first things first. Let's talk about the transfer portal. Or actually, we'll get to the portal in just a minute. There's some obvious big things. Hey, I'll get the big one out of the way. Kiko Asparis is in the portal. Starting quarterback is in the portal. We'll get there in a second. We're going to talk about 2024 just a little bit more. Last time we talked about 24, it was the day after the last game. We didn't know any of the All Big Sky names. We didn't know any of the award watch lists and stuff like that. So we'll just go over that really quick from the 2024 football team, just really quick to give those guys their flowers. Hey, Efton Chisholm was named a finalist for the Walter Payton Award. Not a top 3 finalist, just on that big list of names. I'm sure he was 5th or 6th on the list, probably up there in the top 10 guys for the Walter Payton Award. Efton Chisholm, not quite good enough to make it to Frisco, but he again, just what a player, man. What a career for him up there. I mean, statistically, I think he would be numbers-wise the second greatest Eagle receiver of all time behind, the great Cooper Kupp. So one hell of a career for Efton Chisholm, and the way he did it was the right way throughout the whole way. So just very sad that he's no longer a player that we get to watch every Saturday, but just very proud of that guy as an Eagle fan, watching him grow through his career because, man, what a stud. Derek Ganter Jr. was named to the Jerry Rice Award. For those that don't know, Walter Payton Award, that is the Offensive Player of the Year in the FCS. Jerry Rice Award is a Freshman of the Year award in the FCS. Derek Ganter was named to that. He was up there in tackles in the Big Sky, had a really nice year. He did not win that award. The award went to player from NDSU, running back. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. We also got the All Big Sky teams. Just going to run through the names here. First team All Big Sky selections from Eastern were Efton Chisholm, obviously, and Michael Wortham as an all-purpose player, not as a kick returner. That was absolute BS. We also had offensive lineman Wyatt Hansen, senior, made all first team all conference as a senior. Awesome for him. Second team all conference was Michael Wortham as a kick returner there. Again, I don't know how he wasn't the first team. I know Junior Bergen is a stud. He kind of got a little bit of a career achievement award because the numbers are Michael Wortham by a mile. He had like 4 times more yards, it felt like, and averaged more per return. I felt Michael Wortham obviously deserved that, but he didn't get it. Okay, my rant's over. Second team, again, Michael Wortham, kick returner. Derek Ganter made it as a safety. And then we had 4 honorable mention selections. We had Jack Seeley, our center, Luke Dahlgren, our left guard, both honorable mention offensive linemen. And then we had Dejon Wells at corner, made honorable mention, and Jet Carpenter at tight end. We'll learn more about Jet Carpenter here in just a moment. Okay, let's get to the portal exits, because that is a very relevant thing as to like right now. And I'm actually going to go on my phone right now and just slightly scroll, because it's been a hectic day. It's been coming left, right, and so these things, it's been changing literally like 5-10 minutes before I hopped on here. Another player entered the portal, so just doing a quick scroll, making sure there's nothing new. Anyways, all right, the big one, Kiko Vesperis has entered the portal, for going his final year here at Eastern, which means, hey, quarterback is all of a sudden a question mark, kind of. We know Jared Taylor is going to be part of the quarterback room, obviously. He was a big part of the quarterback room last year. Even, he split reps with Kikoa, as well as a few reps with Mike Wortham. Jared Taylor is going to be a part of the recipe quarterback 100% next year. Will he be the full-time starter? That's to be seen. When you look at this quarterback room, there's only 4 guys in it as of now. We got Jared Taylor, obviously. We have Nate Bell, who will be a redshirt sophomore next year. You have Jake Skackel, I believe is how you pronounce the last name. He told me how to do it. I can't remember. He will be a redshirt freshman next year. Excuse me, guys. And Anthony Quinones, a true freshman that just signed on Wednesday. That is only 4 guys, well, which is, I mean, not too uncommon, but the reason we only have 4 guys, another reason is Aiden Carter will be going on his mission, so he will be gone for 2 years. He'll be back after 2 years, but he won't be. Wow. This is what I get for doing things live and solo. A little bit sick. I got the coughs. Hey, give me just 2 seconds so I can take a drink. All right, we're back. So, quarterback's a little bit of a question mark. We know that it's going to be Jared Taylor for a part of it. We don't know if it's going to be full Jared Taylor. That'll kind of be, we'll see. Nate Bell is a mobile guy that has a good arm, a very accurate deep ball from what I remember seeing. Jake Skackel is more of a he's a little bit more of a pocket passer style guy that is going to kind of slice and dice you with the accuracy in the short passes. That Nate Bell and Skackel seem very complimentary of each other to me. And so I wonder if it will be a combination of all 3 of those guys next year. We will see. If I had to bet on it, I would bet Nate Bell and Jared Taylor split reps, almost like Kikoa and Jared Taylor did last year. But hey, we don't really know. What makes this tough is we'll get to the offensive line later, but the whole O-line's gone, right? And so I'm going to talk about the O-line just a little bit, because it is relevant with the signing day stuff. But hey, when you lose 5 O-linemen, it's going to be tough to, really impose your will on the ground like we did last year with Jared Taylor and that group of linemen. We do actually have a lot more experience on the O-line than you realize. When you go through and look, there's actually a decent amount of seniors, which is kind of funny, but we'll get there in just a moment. We'll keep going down the transfer portal exit list as of 5:30 on Monday, which is, I have to make sure to make that clear with how fast things are changing right now. But tight end Jet Carpenter, he would have been a redshirt junior next year. I think he was this year, but he had a med redshirt, so he had 2 more years of eligibility. He entered the portal. That's another starter, which is very important in the tight end room that actually lost at least 1 senior. We might have actually lost 2 seniors. I cannot remember if JP Murphy, he technically still has eligibility remaining, but I thought he walked on senior day. So I'm not sure if he is, I'm not sure if he's coming back or not next year. That's something I would have to confirm with coaches, but JP Murphy was one of the seniors that would be next year. Then we have Landon Cooper will be back as a redshirt senior. He came in as a JUCO guy last year, played a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit, as well as a junior college signee from Wednesday, Ryan Johnson. He'll be a junior. He has 2 years eligibility remaining, I believe. He'll be a guy that steps in at tight end. Other than that, you don't have anyone that has seen the field yet at the college level. So you have Braden Cooks, Caden Stute, Asher Bowie, Gavin Allen, Isaiah Oldman, guys that haven't quite, as well as the other tight end that we signed. What's his name? Xander Turner will also be in the room. But all those guys are freshmen and sophomores. And hey, tight end's a position that's really tough to transition from high school to college, just because it's a different ball game playing tight end in high school versus playing tight end in college, which is, I mean, it's true of every position, but the physicality is a lot different at that position in college. And so typically it's one of those positions that takes a little bit longer to kind of develop into and get developed in. And right now, if Murphy did walk on senior day, like I think I remember him walking on senior day, we only have 2 guys with college experience, and only 1 guy that played for Eastern last year in the tight end room. Hey, that matters if you're going to be a run first football team, right? All right, more on the transfer portal. A little bit less like impactful in terms of actual snaps on the field, but both of these guys are receivers. Marcellus Honeycutt Jr., he would have been a redshirt sophomore next year. He entered the portal, as well as wide receiver Luke Womack. Man, I'm coughing again. Excuse me, guys. Jeez. This is brutal, guys. Okay, we're back. All right. Wide receiver Luke Womack, who would have been a redshirt freshman next year. He was a guy that was committed to UW, decommitted, and then Eastern picked him up out of Oregon. They both entered the portal. Neither of those guys played on the field last year, if I'm remembering right, but they both made plays in practice. They're both very talented receivers. I have to cough again. Wow. This is what I get for going live while I'm kind of sick, everyone. Anyways, both those guys made lots of plays in practice, and they were guys that seem like dudes that could be serious contributors in the future. They didn't see the field last year. If I'm remembering right, I don't think either of them played last year, but that sucks losing those guys. Okay, this day and age, it happens. We lose offensive lineman Brett Fullington, a guy that I don't think he played. Sucks to lose him because I've heard good things about him being a good dude, but he left. And then the more defensive special teams exits that I've seen so far, I have a feeling we'll see more, but this is as of, again, 5:30 on Monday. Linebacker Bishop Blakely, who was a reserve linebacker, a guy that has, when I interviewed Coach Sanders last year, Bishop Blakely was a name that he brought up as being kind of a vocal lead. I don't know if a vocal leader, but a guy that his enthusiasm was very infectious in that room. That was important to that room. He has entered the portal, which sucks. He didn't really contribute on the field, but a really good guy from my understanding, as well as University of Washington transfer Anthony James II. He is also entered the portal. He never saw the field at Eastern. I'm not exactly sure what was up that, but he was only a redshirt freshman last year. He'll be a redshirt sophomore next year. I think he might. I don't know how eligibility works if you don't even suit up for the other team, but he also hopped in the portal. Last one that I have seen so far, Jackson Cleaver, the kickoff specialist. He did kick a few field goals last year. He entered the portal as well, which, we have not been hit as hard in the portal as many teams. But again, losing 2 pretty key offensive returners, when you lose your whole line, every returner at other positions really matters. Losing a guy like Carpenter, losing a guy like Kiko Vesperis really sucks, and that's going to make an impact on, Eastern's an offensive first team, and if you lose a lot of what makes that offense go on the offensive line, as well as in the tight end room, and that you lose your starting quarterback, hey, we're going to have to reload pretty quick, and hopefully this rebuilt, retooled offensive line can really be better than maybe you would expect a all brand new offensive line to be, because otherwise, hey, it's not looking great right now in terms of offensive production next year. But we do get a lot of guys back that maybe we didn't expect to get. Nolan Olm is supposed to be back next year. Miles Williams should be back next year. guys that didn't play really at all and really much at all in 24 that should be playing in 25. You also have some of those younger receivers finally coming up, maturing, and probably making impact. And I mean, I talked to Coach McDaniels, our receivers coach, the other day, and he mentioned one of our incoming receivers as a guy that's going to be like fastest guy on the team day one. He steps on the field. So, there are some names there on the signing class sides of things. So let's go over really quick. Let's go over the signing class a little bit. Eastern signed a good number of guys. We signed 22 guys on Wednesday. One quarterback, that's Anthony Quinones out of Liberty High School in California. Two receivers, David Cabrera out of Desert Edge in Arizona. He is a speedster, really fast guy, a short kind of slot receiver style guy. Rylan Lang out of Anacortes High School in Anacortes, Washington. He is the comparison that I heard was kind of a Wes Garrett type of guy, very hard worker. We signed 2 tight ends of the high school variety. Isaiah Aldman out of Linden High School. That kid is a really good player, and I'm really excited for him. Just an absolute playmaker. He's the kind of guy that he played a lot of receivers, split out wide a lot in their offense. And I mean, if we were bringing him in as a receiver, I wouldn't have blanked an eye. Xander Turner, our other high school tight end recruit, big 6'4", 230-pound tight end, physical, really good blocker out of O'Day High School, really hard-nosed kid from what I've heard, and he's going to help blocking up in the future here. Then we signed 5 offensive linemen of the high school variety. Nick Savage out of Issaquah, Andrew Langer out of Carlsbad High School, that's Washington and Issaquah, obviously. Brady Ackerman out of Nooksack Valley in Everson, Washington. Michael Gradle out of Moore Park High School, Moore Park, California, as well as Dylan Scott. He is out of Arlington High School in Arlington, Washington. All those guys, 4 of those guys out of Washington, 1 guy out of California, a lot of young offensive linemen. And the theme of this to me seemed like guys with really good feet, really good athleticism, good frames that you can fill out. A lot of guys that are, 260, 270 weight wise, but, a couple years in the strength and conditioning program. Hopefully you can build those guys into a really good O-line. And, when you have 5 guys, most of these guys are interior style guys. Michael Grado might be an exterior guy. Most of these guys are most likely going to be playing interior offensive line. You really want to have that mobility, you want to have that athleticism, but you also need to have some power with those guys. And so it seems like a class that is going to be able to be built into that. We'll kind of, time will tell. It takes, 4 or 5 years for an offensive line to be built. 1 running back recruit, Wilson Medina out of Sherwood, Oregon, or Sherwood High School. That is in Burt Ranch, California. He is really physical running back. He played in kind of a wing tee. He played that fullback in the wing tee where very downhill, you're not really getting much acceleration before you're hitting the hole. But once he hits that hole, he really hits it. He's going to be a guy that can kind of help out. He was described to me as a guy that has some home run ability, but he can go get you the dirty 3-yard and 4-yard runs that late in the game they turn into 7 and 8-yard runs. Wilson should be, a guy that more of a physical running back, big physical guy. 1 corner in this class, Landon K. High out of Kennedy Catholic. That dude can move very fast, very quick, change of direction. 3 safeties in this class. Marcus Nixon out of Bellingham. He went to Squalicum High School. We have Messiah Washington out of LA, California. He went to Cathedral High School. And Bjorn Birmingham out of Cajun High School in San Bernardino, California. 2 linebacker recruits. Both these guys look pretty good. Gage Brumfield out of WF West High School in Chehalis, Washington. And then you have Cooper McPherson out of Chihuahua and Pasco. Hey, I saw Coach Bruce post this, but the last linebacker out of Chihuahua turned out pretty good. Kwai Zamora was a stud back in, he would have been the mid-2010s. And then 1 D tackle that I've seen, Elijah Patello. He's a big 6'5", 400 pound, or 240 pound defensive end, or he'll be a D tackle at Eastern. He played D end, and he played a 3-4 D end, which is kind of a D tackle anyways. And at Auburn High School in Auburn, Washington, Elijah Patello is a stud, and he has a lot of juice in a guy that's going to make a lot of plays for Eastern. He seems like a guy that can make a pretty early impact into his career. Really excited to see how he does. But Gage Larson, another defensive end, 6'3", 230, out of Rigby, Idaho, guy that was on a really good high school team. His film. I'm really excited about some of these defensive guys. There was 3 junior college guys, or actually one more D lineman, another D tackle out of Bingham High School in South Jordan, Utah, Jay Stupea. I don't know as much about him. I haven't seen his film yet, but another good, solid D tackle from what I've heard. Then we signed 2 junior college offensive linemen, guys that are expected to make impacts right away. Apisa Palmele out of Laney College. He's a guy from American Samoa, big, strong. He's 6'1", 300 pounds, coming out of junior college. I believe he has 2 years of eligibility remaining. He is expected to be a guy to come in and play center really early in his time at Eastern, maybe as soon as this fall. And you have Dom Maeva, another 6'3", 305 offensive lineman, also out of American Samoa, also out of Laney College. Both these guys were out of Laney College. They played center and right tackle there. Dom is expected to slide into guard at Eastern, and again, a guy that is expected to make an impact really pretty soon. Obviously, the theme of this class was a lot of physicality, a lot of big guys. You got 3 tight ends, or I guess I didn't talk about the third tight end, Ryan Johnson. He was a junior college teammate with Noah Cronquist last year, Moorpark College, already big physical guy that can step in right away. I might have mentioned him in the tight end segment I talked about earlier, but he is a guy that he'll be able to step in pretty early and make an impact if he needs to. But like I said, the theme was big, man. The theme was blocking. The theme was beef, big guys. 7 offensive linemen, really, 3 tight ends. 10 of these 22 guys are guys expected to have their hand in the dirt at some point on the offensive side of the ball. 3 defensive linemen. That is a lot of your class going up front, which is, it's good to see, because obviously Eastern's had their struggles there at times. So I'm happy to see the program wanting to build from the trenches back, which is it's really good to see. And then they're adding, last year was a really big skill position class, a lot of receivers. There's like 5-6 receivers. Then you had, we had a running back, we had a quarterback, a lot of speed and a lot of athleticism in that class. This one is a lot of strength, a lot of physicality. And then on the defensive side of the ball is where you see that athleticism really pop, with a lot of guys that played multiple positions on guys that played defense and offense, a lot of athleticism. And I mean, there's physicality there as well. Obviously, you need to be physical to play defense, but a lot of athletes. Gage Brumfield's a guy that played quarterback in high school, and safety. He's expected to come in and play linebacker for us. Cooper McPherson played receiver, and he played outside linebacker, but was actually rushing the passer a bunch. Fits exactly what our defense wants to do. He's a guy that comes in really good frame and athletic. You expect him to be an outside linebacker for Eastern. A lot of athleticism, speed, and guys that really love ball was a big theme that I heard when talking to the coaches the other day. So with that, for the most part, this class is, last year kind of the class popped on film a little bit more. This year, being the strength, the beef class, it's a little bit less exciting on the film side of things, but seeing the frames I'm seeing the things I'm seeing with the offensive linemen that you can develop into really good players, that is really exciting for me as a guy that really likes offensive line play. And let's talk about the offensive line a little bit, because like we said, we lost the entire offensive line. The guys that played the majority of the snaps last year are all graduating. And so it kind of leaves the question, hey, who's going to step into those spots for the Yanks next year? Here's a list of some of the guys. 3 guys played last year, maybe 4 guys played a little bit last year. You have tackle Dylan Connor. He actually started the year as a starter. He'll be a redshirt junior next year. He got hurt early in the year, and I'm not. He might actually still be a redshirt sophomore if he gets a medical redshirt from last year, which is possible. He was a guy that looked really good last year, like I'm talking 2023 when he stepped in as a redshirt freshman. Last year, he looked good in spurts. Then he struggled a little bit at parts of the year, but he ended up getting hurt and sat for most of the year. I believe they're medically redshirting him, so he should be a redshirt sophomore again next year. But he'll have 2 to 3 years of eligibility remaining. He's a guy that I think will be perfectly fine filling in one of the tackle spots. He was supposed to be that guy this year anyways. And you have Noah Stewart, Michigan transfer. He'll be a redshirt senior next year. He is probably going to step into one of those tackle spots. We also have in Corning, who stepped in at a tackle spot during the Idaho game, and you really didn't notice him there, which is a good thing if you're an offensive lineman. I think we got 3 guys at tackle that can step in and be fine, which is good because injuries happen. You also have the redshirt freshman Mark Johnson, who, I'm not expecting him to take a starting job as a redshirt freshman necessarily, but he's a guy that was on the 2 deep at guard, I believe he was, but he seems like a guy that could play tackle as well. He has the frame for it. He could be, again, a name. He'd be the youngest guy actually on this list of guys that I have here that could be a contributor on the offensive line. On the more interior side of things, you have Dom Maeva as the Laney College guy at guard, most likely. You have a Pise Paumele, I believe is how you pronounce it. Again, a center from Laney College, junior college guy, similar to Jack Seeley. He can probably step in right away and take that job if things go the way that the coaches maybe expect them to go. You have David Shin, a guy that came in as a JUCO go last year. He's an interior guard. He'll be a redshirt senior, guy that played in practice a lot. At guard, he didn't play in games really unless he did late in the game, but David Shin and Mason Battelle-Strong are both guys that played guard reps for Eastern last year. Battelle-Strong got into more games with the ones, if I'm remembering right. He was a guy that was listed as a senior on the roster, but I believe he used his red shirt and is coming back. I could be wrong on Mason Battelle-Strong, but either way, there's 2 to 3 guards, maybe 4 if you count Mark Johnson as a guard, that I'd feel they seem like the front runners to be taking those jobs. You also have, again, Apise, the center that will he seems like the guy that'll take over that center job. But David Shin played center at junior college and at I believe he's at Utah Tech and he played some center. So when you look at this, it's all juniors and seniors, all guys that have experience playing at the college level through junior college. When you look at this, the guys that played junior college, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys that played junior college football. And what that means is I don't think the drop-off will be as dramatic as maybe I expected when I first realized, hey, we're losing like our entire offensive line. That's a little bit concerning. There's going to be some drop-off, as you will have when you lose all your starters. That's just what I'm expecting. But, we do actually have a lot more experience in there. Not when I went and looked than I maybe expected to see. Plus, there's a lot of young guys that have, to me, that look like really high ceilings. And so I'm not as worried about an offensive line now that I've looked at it. It's still going to be a position that we need to keep a close eye on in spring ball and fall camp next year, because it's very important to what Coach Chapin wants to do on offense, right? Very important to be able to run the ball. But, I'm not confident necessarily that the offensive line is going to be the strength of the team again like it was last year necessarily. But I'm less worried that it's going to become a giant liability right now. Hey, this could change if we play a game and all of a sudden we can't protect the passer at all, when we can't protect the young quarterback at all, if for example a guy like Nate Bell or Jake Scott ends up becoming a guy that plays a lot in passing situations, hey, that could be something to look for. But seems like the coaches want to run the ball. Seems like we have the personnel right now that wants to run the ball. Hopefully this new offensive line can be good enough to allow them to run the ball like they want to. For the most part, on the football side of things, that's kind of all I got. I go back and forth on the optimistic to pessimistic side of things. I'm worried about the offensive line play, obviously, but I mean, if there's any position that, hey, Coach Best and Hayden Mason and these guys have been able to develop, it has been the offensive line. They've been able to find guys in the junior college ranks that can come up and play right away. And I don't know. I'm just seeing the actual experience next to these guys' names makes me a lot less nervous than I was maybe like yesterday thinking about this as a whole. Okay, let's talk just a little bit of baseball or basketball. Geez, baseball. We're just going to talk just a little bit because I'm a horrible podcast host because I always forget about my sponsor. We are brought to you by Walk On Apparel. Eagles Power Hour is sponsored by Walk On Apparel. Walk On Apparel focuses on capturing EWU's culture and traditions and apparel designs that are as different as they are affordable. Plus, 10% of the profit from every sale gets donated right back to the Eagle Athletic Fund. That's a win for you and your alma mater. EPH listeners get 10% off Eastern gear at checkout using code EPH10. That's EPH10. New designs drop throughout the season, so go check out walkon-apparel.com or follow them on Twitter and Instagram to see what's dropping next. Walkon-apparel.com. Cough break. I'm muting for just a second. Okay, basketball. Hey, men's basketball team is 2-8 right now. Not doing too hot. But they have played a very, very tough strength of schedule. I'm not going to say they played the toughest schedule of the year, not as tough as last year per se, but they played some good teams. And when you look through these losses, you lost to Colorado, you lose to Missouri, you lose to Washington State. We know who's over there. Cal Baptist, UC Santa Barbara, Utah. These aren't awful losses. It's not like Eastern and South Dakota State is a team that is, a really good basketball school. A lot of these teams are teams that are probably looking at going to be tournament teams next year. And it's hard to expect that when you have a new head coach, pretty much a whole new roster. A lot of these guys were here last year, but, only one guy, maybe two guys that really got playing time last year returning on the roster. The team last year was 2-8 at 1.2, if I'm remembering right. And so it's been a disappointing out of conference, but this does not mean that Eastern's going to be god-awful in the Big Sky. We will see here in a few weeks. Big Sky opener is January 2nd, Thursday, January 2nd. Montana comes to our house. Also, really cool news, final game of the year, Eastern at Montana on March 3rd got moved to ESPN2, I believe, which is really cool. But we'll talk about that in freaking March when it's actually time. The Big Sky Summit League Challenge is always an interesting kind of fun thing. A conference that's on a comparable level to Eastern and the Big Sky. Eastern beat North Dakota. That was a competitive game all the way, 87-81. That was a really fun game. And then they went to South Dakota, lost to USD, or South Dakota State, USD. Geez, South Bunny fans, I apologize. But I don't know. I don't really know how much I can tell from this out-of-conference schedule what this team actually is going to be. We'll run through some of the stats really quick, just some of the key contributors, and kind of introduce people to those people, because I know I've talked about it a little bit, but the leading scorer on this team for the most part has been Andrew Cook. He is a Carroll College transfer. He came with Coach He's our associate head coach from Carroll College. He was the head coach at Carroll College last year. His name is totally escaping me because I'm a horrible fan and um, I can't remember his name. But anyways, he's a really good scorer. He's not a guy that you would expect to be a good scorer when you just kind of look at him, but he's been really solid and a good defender for us as well. He's averaging 17 points a game, very solid. Next leading scorer is Nick McLean, very athletic guy. He was a bench guy here last year that never saw the court really. He started nine of our 10 games. He's averaging 15 points a game. Really, his big issue has been turnovers, but he kind of makes up for that by forcing turnovers. He has 27 steals on the year, which that's a good thing when he's a very kind of a ball demanding guard, and that just leads to turnovers a lot of the time. He wants to slash and he wants to drive, and he is good when he's on the drive, but he's just struggled turnovers a little bit early in this year. Probably something he can clean up a little bit here as the season goes on. We have Mason Williams. We remember Mason Williams from last year. Redshirt. He was a freshman last year. This year he's a sophomore. He's been dealing with some sort of an injury. I don't know what it is. He hasn't played the last couple weeks, so he's been out, but he's been really good when he has played. He's averaging 12 points a game. Again, really good shooter. We remember him. Sebastian Hartman, we remember him. Really good defender. Johnny on the spot. A lot of the time, you don't realize what he's doing until you just don't realize what he's doing until he's off the court, and then things happen. Man, we got to take another cough break, boys. And then the other main contributors here, Emmett Marquardt. He's kind of the starting big man. Visej Zonke. We remember Zonke a little bit from last year. He likes to shoot. He's a big, long guard that he comes off the bench. He's kind of the sixth man, but he plays most of the game anyways. And then Elijah Thomas, a good guard that can shoot a little bit. Sam Stockton, we know Sam Stockton. That's John Stockton's kid. He comes in a little bit. He doesn't play a ton, but does some good things for the team. You have Pavlo, I think it's Zuba. He's a guy from Ukraine that transferred from Arizona State, I believe. Big man, athletic as heck. He hasn't played a ton, but him and Jackson Seal and number 35 on our team. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name. Those guys are all big men that they play sparingly. They play usually when Marquardt gets into some foul trouble. But the one thing with this team, we don't really have a true big man necessarily. I don't know. Marquardt's 6'9", but he's more of a stretch four than anything, which has become a problem versus teams that have big men a little bit. And the interior defense has been a little bit of a problem. But, this team, for the most part, it's kind of it's very different from a David Riley team. A David Riley team they're just so dang athletic and they can shoot, and everyone on the team could shoot. There's a little bit of that element with Marquardt as a stretch four type guy, but Tyler Powell, he's a guard and he's not necessarily known for his shooting, but he actually shot pretty well in the season. But he seems like more of a defensive first player to me with good rebound, really good hustle player. And we have more guys on this team that I don't know. It seems a little bit like a last minute kind of thrown together transfer portal team that they play really hard. They don't have the crazy athletes and the crazy advantage at every position like we maybe had last year in the Big Sky, where when you look at just the sheer athleticism, 4 of our guys are more athletic than their guys, or just generally kind of have something over the other team. We don't have that necessarily this year. We have a lot of solid basketball players that play very, they play well inside the offense. They play good defense. They have really good hands. They've actually forced a ton of steals this year. They've already forced 86 steals and 24 block shots, which for a team that doesn't have a ton of length, maybe last year, that's pretty dang impressive. A lot of sloppy games with this team, which is fun. But we kind of got to wait and see for Big Sky play to kind of know where we stack up. Right now, I think we're kind of a middle of the road Big Sky team. That's just what I've seen. But also, like, I would not be shocked at all if these guys end up being a top 5 Big Sky team and be pretty dang good. So we're gonna have to just kind of wait and see. I'm not gonna get too much more in depth on basketball right now, just because hey, I haven't watched them enough to feel confident about doing like true, real analysis. Um, which yeah, I mean, I'm not a basketball guy. I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. Anyways, let's be for real. So that's the Eastern podcast way. Shout out to Kyler Neal. Next up on the schedule, Eagles head to UW here. I believe it's tomorrow, Tuesday at 8 p.m. in Seattle. Hey, Seattle Eagles get there. West Side Eagles get there. This should be a fun game. Obviously, UW is heavily favored, but should be a fun game before we have a pretty big drought until Big Sky play comes. We do have 2 home games over Christmas break versus Lincoln and versus Eastern Oregon, but sub D1 games. They're both games that, Eastern should win these games by 20, 30 points. So are not as interesting as playing Big Sky opponents or, D1 OC games, which it kind of sucks, but it's not a huge deal. We're playing Lincoln University, which is always interesting when teams play the enigma that is Lincoln University. However, hey, Big Sky play starts January 2nd. That should be a really fun game versus Montana. We got Montana State the following Saturday. And then a couple weeks later, we have our doubleheader at Idaho, which, I always enjoy that game, being a guy that I went to school there a couple years. So, but it's kind of all we're going to talk basketball right now. Women's basketball has been kind of in a similar spot as the men's team. They've been okay. They struggled a little bit. They're trying to figure out what their offense is without most of their contributors. They're 2-7, but they play Gonzaga in Spokane on December 14th. What day of the week is that? That is Saturday, December 14th at 2 p.m. They play Gonzaga in Spokane. Really recommend people get out. Watch this team. They're fun. They lose a lot of contributors, but they brought in a really good player in Peyton Howard that's been their leading scorer. It's a fun team that, I'm still paying attention to them for sure. I'm not covering them as much on the channel just because I've been swamped, man. But fun team. Support the women's basketball team as well. Both basketball teams are always fun. They're always solid programs. They're well coached, and so they got a chance to win any game that they play, which is really fun. But we're probably going to call it about good there. It's just kind of a quick football update type episode. Talk about kind of the hecticness that is the transfer portal, and I'm going to refresh Twitter real quick and make sure I'm not missing another portal entry because it's kind of how it has gone for us this year, in and out. Transfer portal is insane. I'm not seeing anything new as of now. I'm sure next week we'll have a new names to talk about in the transfer portal just because that's how it is. But Eastern might have to add a couple of names in the transfer portal as well if we get hit too hard, which is important. The tight end room feels like a room that we might need to add a couple guys. But I'll leave it at that. We'll call it good there. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in live. Thanks, everyone, for listening and listening to me ramble on these solo episodes because solo episodes are always like that. But thanks, everyone, for listening, and go Eagles.